Hello, I'm Sean McAngus, and welcome back to another episode of the Highland League podcast.
In this episode, I speak to Wick Academy manager Gary Manson.
In our chat, he talks about his early playing days at Ross County, breaking into the first team at Wick Academy, being part of a Wick side which finished third in the league, winning the North of Scotland Cup, funny stories about teammates such as Gary, what it is like to be a Highland League manager, and much more. If you're new to the podcast, make sure to subscribe on your chosen platform to keep up to date with all the latest episodes. Hope you enjoy this interview.
Gary, we'll go right at the beginning. So what are your kind of earliest memories of playing football?
I've got an older brother. He's 2 years older than me, so that's kind of my first memory. Him going off to football training on a Friday night, and me being kind of jealous that he was going off. I don't know what he was probably 6, I think, at the time, and because I remember first going when I was about 4.5, 5-ish. So that's probably the first thing, because I just thought it was a nice thing to do on a Friday night, and I was always jealous, and eventually wore my mum and dad down, I think, to allow me to join them on a Friday. So I think I was about probably just turning 5, I think, by the time I started.
Yeah, so what is it like in terms of opportunities for football up in Thursday?
Mid to late 80s, everyone played football. There weren't many games consoles and what have you back then, so it was more or less everybody played football. So there was three boys clubs or youth club teams in Thurso. So it kind of determined there's 3 primary schools as well in Thurso. So whatever primary school you went to determined which club you played for. So there was lots of opportunities. It's slightly different now. They've all kind of joined, and it's just one club now in Thurso, with different teams within that club. Back then it was quite good. It was quite a good rivalry. There was, like I said, between the different primary schools and the different boys clubs, there was quite a good rivalry to involve the football. So it was good. There was a lot of opportunities to play growing up in Thurso.
Yeah, so in terms of what was your kind of earliest kind of formal team you were playing as a youngster, would you say?
Well, in Thurso, like I say, there was 3 teams, and I played for a team called Thurso Youth Club. But like it wasn't particularly structured. Training on a Friday night would just be, split. However many boys were in the hall, split them into teams, and then just go at it, pretty much. Which was good. That's all boys like 6, 7-year-olds want to do at that stage. You don't want to, be laboured with structured drills and sessions. It was just get the ball and have a game, basically. Then from that, I was involved with Aberdeen. They had a regional training squad up in Thurso, and it was roughly about first year at high school. Started going to that then, and that was probably my first sort of introduction to structured training sessions and actually trying to improve your technique and improve your sort of like game awareness and all that sort of thing. So that was really good, and ended up going down to Pittodrie in the school holidays for training sessions and for trial matches and stuff like that. And that lasted about maybe a year and a half. Ended up then, I think I must have been about 14 when I went to Ross County. Started playing for it was under 14s I started with Ross County, so I must have been just under 14. And travelling down the road twice a week, then on a Sunday for a match as well. So it was my first insight into like formal as a team, in a league and what have you. And quality of coaching was good, quality of opposition was good. We were in like the development league or something it was called. Like, we were playing all the top teams up and down the country. So that was again another good learning curve.
Yeah, so in terms of is there any kind of particular players you played against during that period that you kind of recall that have kind of went on to, have a decent career?
Yeah, well, played Don Cowie was in my team, so obviously he went on and had a really good career, Scottish international. When I was at Aberdeen, in that another guy who's kind of come back into not the limelight, but Mark Fotheringham, his name is. He's just taken over as manager of Huddersfield. Oh, yeah. So I think he was a year younger than me at Aberdeen, but he was a standout. Like he was in actually training with the first team when he was only 14, I think he was, if that. And yeah, he was a standout. So always kind of looked and checked his progress as his career went on, and again went on and had a really good career in Germany and in England as well. Other ones in the Highland League, like Craig Campbell was in my Ross County team. Robbie Duncanson was in my county team. Who else? John McCaskill had a decent Highland League career as well. They were all in and around my county team as well. So yeah, good to sort of keep an eye on their progress as well in the Highland League. And
yeah, so what was that like, being in the kind of Ross County for your development?
It was good, obviously, because like I said, the quality of coaching and the quality of players that you're playing with and against wasn't something that I would get up here in Thurso or Caithness. So it was really good. I mean, the travelling aspect wasn't ideal. It was like Thurso to Dingwall's about an hour 45. So, I was finishing school, got home, quick bite to eat, in the car, straight down for training, back the same night. And then, on a Sunday, a weekend for games, if it was a home game, it was fine. But an away game, I'd be down on the Saturday, stay over with someone on the Saturday night, down on the Sunday to play in the Central Belt somewhere, back up the road, and then school first thing on a Monday. So that aspect wasn't ideal, but I guess it's kind of prepared me in a way for travelling during the Highland League days. So yeah, obviously it learned me an awful lot. Like I say, the training was an eye opener. You were learning different things, not just technique wise, but like tactical wise as well. So yeah, it was really good. I wouldn't be the player I am or player I was, or have the sort of knowledge in the game that I do if I wasn't able to be at Ross County for 2 or 3 years. So yeah, invaluable really. Like, because I was at Ross County until I was about 16 and a half, I would think. I kind of got to the stage where, I think it was under 17s at that time. And then at the end of that season, you were either taken on full time or let go. It was kind of that brutal. So, yeah, I was unfortunate. I was let go, and then came up the road and joined Wick first team, basically from there as a 16-year-old. And I was still eligible to play for the under-18s. So most weekends I'd be playing Saturday first team, Sunday under-18s, and it got quite hectic at some points, especially, if you're out for a beer then the Saturday night and you're still having a game on the Sunday. But yeah, so that was my only kind of involvement in the Wick youth setup. Was I had one season in the under-18s, and as is quite often the case, Wick seemed to have a very good youth team at that level. Yeah. And we won the league, and we won our section, and then we played Rothes, I think it was. And because in that days there was a north section and an east section, if you like. And yeah, we won our section, and Rothes won their section. And we beat them then in the final. So we've got an under-18s winners medal. That's
You want to add a senior medal to that at some point?
I wouldn't mind. I've got one. The 2015 North of Scotland Cup. But yeah, I wouldn't mind adding some more now.
So, do you remember kind of your debut in the Highland League?
Yeah, probably one of the most memorable games. Actually, it was at home to Cove Rangers on the first game of the season. 16 years old, and I was I was thrown straight in. No kind of bedding in, getting a couple of sub appearances first or whatever like that. It was just straight in, 16-year-old, left wing back. Up against Cove, league champions from the year before, and we ended up winning 1-0. So as far as debuts go, they probably don't get much, but I could have scored, but they don't get much better than that, really, I don't think. So yeah, out of all my games, it's probably one of the most memorable.
So in terms of how did you cope with the kind of physicality of the league at first?
I don't remember thinking, I was out my depth or anything physically. I mean, even when you look back at photos of me during that first couple of seasons, and I was slight, but I was quite kind of broad and maybe more developed than other 16-year-olds. I don't know, but I don't ever remember thinking, oh yeah, I was like physically dominated in that game or whatever. I don't remember that. Quite possibly I was, and most likely I would have been at 16 years old. Fully grown adults would have probably seen me and would try to impose themselves on me. But like I said, I don't remember ever coming off the pitch thinking, geez, that was physically demanding, and felt like I let the team down because I got dominated. But possibly I was, but I don't remember thinking that.
So in terms of going on, kind of making more appearances and kind of putting your mark on the Highland League, how important was that in terms of being so young, in terms of having confidence, getting more games and stuff?
Yeah, well, like I say, I was thrown straight in at the deep end, so it's either a sink or swim situation. So gladly, like I say, we won that game 1-0. So that must have bred confidence in me. There'd be something wrong if it never. Knowing that, it was a caretaker manager at that time. We lost our manager about 2 weeks before the season started, and it was a caretaker manager that gave me my debut. But yeah, just knowing he had confidence in me as a 16-year-old to throw me in against league champions, and there were more experienced players sitting on the bench that day as well. So it was certainly a vote of confidence for me. So that obviously gave me a boost and gave me something to build on. And I can't remember. I think I went on to make about 17 or 18 start season.
Yeah.
Quite good numbers for a 16 or 17-year-old in their debut season. So yeah, kind of just went on and built from that. Then I think the year after that, I made more appearances and more starts, and just kind of went on to nail down a first team place then, and thankfully never really lost it.
So who were kind of the players that you played alongside that kind of helped you in terms of development and kind of maybe learned certain things from tricks of the trade from them? Yeah,
we had quite an experienced team when I first came in. So that debut that I'm talking about, we played a back five that day, and I was left wing back, and the three centre halves beside me, they were all quite well versed in Highland League football, and then the next couple of seasons with Gary Weir would come in, seasoned pro with St Johnstone and Cali, and you would learn bits and pieces of him. He was a wonderful footballer, Gary, and very well known in the Highland League as being one of the top players probably ever to play in it. And he came in, and he was actually there in my first season. We got him in on loan from Cali Thistle. He was still full time at that time, and we got him on loan. I think he was only like 31, and maybe not even that, in fact. And he was playing for a reasonably struggling team. I don't know where we finished in my first year, but it wasn't as high as mid-table even. And Gary was midfield, and I think he came away with 12 or 13 goals that year. So it was just he was levels above what we had, and the reason we got him was he was a Wick boy. He probably could have had his pick of Highland League teams to go to on loan that season, I would imagine, but decided to come to Wick because, he was a hometown boy and he came and helped us greatly that season. But yeah, not just Gary. I mean, that team had some really good players in it. Like Alan Sinclair, Baba, his name is, from the back, and then Craig Shearer, Martin Gunn in midfield, and another guy from Thurso, Nigel McKenzie. Me and him went on then in later years. I would play left back and he'd play left midfield, and struck up a really good sort of understanding partnership. Other guys like me and Stuart Ross came into the team about roughly the same time, and played a number of games with Stuart in the early part of my career. So yeah, loads and loads of good players. But I've said before that, Wick in that time, we had lots of good players, but not enough of them, if you know what I mean. So we didn't have the strength and depth. We had players in that team that would, comfortably play for a lot of Highland League teams in that era, but we just didn't have enough to back them up. If they got injured or we lost a couple of players to suspension or what have you, we just never had enough strength and depth at that period, and that's why we were a bottom half of the table team at that point.
Yeah, so in terms of these players, was there anything specifically that they kind of taught you that you've kind of gone on and used in terms of, game management or, in terms of...
I wouldn't say anything specifically, no. But what I would say is back in those days, which, doesn't seem to be the case as much now, is, when you signed up, well, maybe it is, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, maybe it is at certain other clubs, but, when we signed up back in those days, and, that was it. You were there every single Saturday. It didn't matter if you had a wedding, a funeral, or whatever. Football came first, and you were at the game on a Saturday. You were at training Tuesday, Thursday. I rarely missed training, hardly ever missed a game. So that's probably one thing that's stuck with me. I don't know, is it an old school thing and it's just changed nowadays, but it certainly seems to have spoken to, it's not just Wick I'm referring to. I've spoken to a few other Highland League managers, and they're in the same boat. It seems to be different now. Like I say, back in those days, nobody missed a game really. If you might have went on holiday and missed one game a season or something like that, but now it seems boys are missing more games than what we used to. So maybe that's one thing that I've maybe learned from those boys that I joined as a 16-year-old. I don't know, a generational thing. But like I say, it's not all clubs. If you look at, maybe it's, I don't know. You look at like the Fraserburgh team, the Brora team, probably the Brecon team. I haven't noticed them so much, but certainly the Brora team and Fraserburgh, they don't change. Their squad doesn't change much. They might tweak the 11 here and there. They don't seem to miss many players week in, week out. But if you were to look at my team lines this season, you would see like a massive sort of range in who's been available, certainly from week to week to week to week. And yeah, but I don't know why it is. I don't know. I have no idea what the answer is, but yeah, it certainly seems to be one difference to when I started to what it is now.
Yeah. So one of the moments was you were part of the side that got into Wick's first ever kind of senior cup final. What was that like? Obviously during the run you beat a strong Cali team.
Yeah. We'd kind of been knocking on the door for a final for maybe 2 or 3 years, getting to North of Scotland Cup. It's had a couple of different formats over my time, and a couple of times it was like a league format, so there'd be us, Brora, and like maybe a Golspie or a Hulk or a Thurso or something. and you just play each team once, and the winners would go into the semi-finals, what have you. So we'd managed to get to a few semi-finals without actually, we then would come up against a strong Cali team or a strong county team or something like that, because they were in and out of the cups. But yeah, so we'd been knocking on the door for a few years, and it was just good to get to a final, and I don't know that mindset come over the squad as a whole. Maybe we just thought that, that monkey was off our back. We'd got to a final, and then probably, we definitely didn't do ourselves justice in the final. We were 3-0 down and kind of gave ourselves a mountain to climb. But yeah, the day itself the game was in Brora, if I remember correctly, and the amount of fans that we took down the road with us was just incredible. Because, like I say, it was the first final we'd been to for God knows how many years, and it was about probably 75% Wick fans, 25% Forest. So the game itself never obviously went our way. Probably a number of reasons. Forest back then it was like the land of the giants. They had seven players over 6 foot, and they played to their strengths. There's no doubt about that. They were had a specific way of playing, and they played it really well. Big Ryan Green up top was a handful, and so you had to be on your guard. And like we didn't have a particularly big team back then, so they obviously caught us out, and before you know it, we were 3-0 down, and we managed to get back 3-2. But yeah, it wasn't to be.
Do you think the experience of that cup final defeat kind of pushed Wick on in terms of winning it, and later on?
It certainly would have helped. But I think in that little spell from like maybe 2000, whenever that final was, 2010, 2011 or something, and we went on kind of a run. I think we made 4 finals in 5 years or something like that. So, it wasn't just that experience that stood us in good stead for the one that we ended up winning. It was probably a combination of all of them, and not just that as well. We had a very, a really, really good Highland League squad when we did win that cup in 2015. So, it wasn't just learning from experience; it was ability as well. So, but yeah, there's no doubt it would have helped, because if you've got anything about you learn from the bad times more than you learn from the good times. So, I think we'd lost 3 finals by the time we won the one in 2015. So, we had lots of experience to draw on, as well as having a really talented squad. So, the 2015 one speaks for itself. It was a really, really good day out. It was good to give the fans something to cheer after, letting them down in so many finals before that. So it was really good to eventually get that winner's medal.
Yeah. So in terms of that specific final that you won, what are kind of your memories of the actual game? My
memories are not as good as the rest of the boys. I was actually injured for the final. It's just how luck would have it. But I think I've only missed, 3 or 4 games in my whole career with injury. I've been extremely lucky, touch wood, with injuries over my career. And that it was a warm up. It was about maybe 5 games, 6 games before the final. We were warming up. I always remember it was a home game against Keith, and we were doing the warm up, and it was about 10-3 or something like that. And I thought, right, I'll just have a couple of shots before I go in. I must have been playing midfield that day, I would imagine. So a couple of shots, and in the last shot, I just felt a little ping in my side.
Yes.
And, it wasn't agony. I just felt a ping, and I thought, geez, that's a bit annoying. So I went in, got organised, went out, played the game, and it was just getting progressively worse and worse and worse. So it got to about the hour mark, I think, and I said, no, I'm going to have to come off. I couldn't run properly, I couldn't turn properly. So, and then Saturday night into Sunday it got really worse and worse and worse. So Monday I went to the doctors, and turned out it was a torn abductor muscle. And I knew that I had the the cup final was like in 4 weeks' time or something like that. So I kind of thought, right, I'll give myself 2 weeks rest. Although I was meant to give it 4 or 5 weeks rest. So I said, right, I'll give it 2 weeks rest and then make myself available again. So I made myself available, I think it was 2 weeks before the final. It was an away game against Brora. So I was on the bench, and Gordon Conley was the manager at the time, turned to me and said, "Are you fit to go on?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem." Yeah. So I went on, and again, just as luck would have it, I went in for a slide tackle. It was Anders Sutherland. I went in for a tackle with him, and he landed right on the injured side. So that just put me right back to square one. So yeah, it was probably stupid on my behalf, because if I never made myself available for that game, I would have probably been fit and fine to play in the final. But I thought I'd try and prove my fitness before the final, and yeah, it ended up backfiring. And so my memories of the final are just standing watching it, I'm afraid.
As a fan.
Yeah, exactly. Certainly of the game, or the celebrations in the change room and the celebrations at night. Well, yeah, you always remember them. But the actual game itself was more, obviously, one of joy and celebrations, but one of frustration as well, if you get what I mean. So, mixed emotions watching that game.
Yeah, another thing was the 2012 season that you came close to win the league, and you went on that run of form. What was that like?
That was an incredible season. It was, you're referring to 17 wins from 17 home league games, and I don't know the stats. I would imagine other teams have done that as well, but at the time it was just a bit surreal. Every time we went on the pitch, it felt like it was a case of how many we were going to score, not if we were going to score. I mean, the attacking talent that we had in that squad was frightening. I think most teams in that league would have taken our attacking lineup. Davy Allen, Gary Weir, Lucas Caruso, Sam Mackay, Richard McCaddy, top Highland League players at that time, all in their prime as well. So it was, like I say, it was just a case of, how many we were going to score that day, rather than where we were going to score or where we were going to win. And it was, looking back at, obviously our home form couldn't have been any better, but what let us down was the away form. In the end, we finished 4 points off top spot that year. And it's one thing that you look back over the course of my career and think what could have been, because I think there was a couple of games that stand out. We went down to Clach on a Wednesday night near the end of the season, and I think we drew 1 each with them after battering them the whole game. And that's 2 points dropped. And then I think the other one that sticks out was for Martin. I think we went down there and we were 3-0 up away to Formartine. 3-0 up. It was a Davy Allen hat trick. I think it was 3-0 after about 25 minutes, and we were thinking, here we go, there's the game. How many are we going to score today? And ended up drawing that game 3-3. So that's your 4 points there. So if it wasn't for those 2 games, we could have won the league, and went down in history as the first ever Wick team to win the league. But an incredible season to be part of. I think we scored over 100 goals that league campaign as well, which is an achievement in itself. And like I say, it was a team full of attacking intent. I was playing left back for the majority of that season, and it was just a joy to play. And I was just on the front foot the whole time. It was, defending kind of took a back seat. It was just get the ball forward, go and join in, and create and score goals. And it was a joy to be in that squad, in that team. And like I said earlier, that was the period where it was the strongest Wick squad that's probably ever been, I would think. And getting to the 4 finals in 5 years, getting to within 4 points of winning the league, it was just a joy to be involved in that era.
Yeah, so just how good was that kind of strike force, you had like a mixture of kind of different players. What were they like in terms of ability, and do you think those sort of players may have played at a higher level?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one thing, coming from so far up north, a lot of those players in that team might not have, or in that squad, might not have been with us if we were, further down south or down like over in Aberdeenshire or something. They might have been picked up by the league clubs, in that area. So it's got its disadvantages, like player wise, recruitment wise, what have you, coming so far north. But it's also got its advantages because if you've got a good player, then chances are they're going to stay with you, rather than be snapped up by someone else. So yeah, there's no doubt Davy Allen, Sam, Richie, Chucky, Lucas, and probably numerous others in that squad as well could have easily played at a higher level if they wanted to, and if they were somewhere else geographically as well. Yeah, and like you say, the difference in the players, the different attributes that they brought, it just it added up to a really good formula for us. All the players chucked them together, and it just worked. And while we're talking about all the attacking players, we still had the talent in midfield, the talent and the robustness at the back as well. You're not always going to go out and win a game 6-5, so you need to be able to keep the back door shut as well. And it's something that doesn't get spoken about enough. You look at the league table that season, scoring over 100 goals and stuff, but we had a top goalkeeper in Sean McCarthy, and Michael Gray before that as well. I think they were both involved in that season, maybe. So yeah, top goalkeeper. And then, defenders, Alan Farquhar, Grant Stephen, Joe Stephen, myself, Grant Campbell would have been about there at that time as well, Ross Allen. Top defenders in midfield, Stevie Cunningham, Craig Shearer, James Pickles, the whole squad. It wasn't just the attacking players, it's just the whole squad. Like I say, it was just a joy to be in that squad and be involved in.
Yeah, so do you think that'll go down as like one of the best, would you say the best Wick team of all time at the current?
I think without a doubt, yeah, without a doubt. It'll take some beating as well. I mean, it's always, you always strive to be the best and be as good as you possibly can, but it'll take some beating to beat that squad in terms of depth, in terms of ability, in terms of experience, physicality. It seemed to have a little bit of everything. So, now I'm on the other side of it. It's what you strive for. It's what you try and build a squad, with balance and different attributes and what have you. But that squad just seemed to have everything. It just seemed to click. It seemed to be like the perfect storm. Everyone at the same age, well, give or take the same age, all within about 5-6 years of each other. And yeah, it'll maybe take a little bit of time, but hopefully we'll get there again.
Yeah. Is it fair to say that Wick team is maybe kind of overshadowed, in terms of when people look back at some of the top teams over the years, because of people don't really remember? Is that fair to say?
Definitely, yeah. It's fair to say, and it's correct as well, because we only won one trophy. That squad was better than one trophy. Like I've said already, making 4 finals in 5 years. If you only come away with one trophy, that's all that people remember. If say we did win the league that year, we were 4 points away from it, and we won maybe 3 of those 4 finals, then people would be speaking about us as one of up there with the top teams of that era and what have you. But yeah, it's definitely fair to say, because, like I say, when you only come away from that period with one trophy, then it feels like we didn't do ourselves justice, and I don't think we did really.
So in terms of people always speak about kind of the Brora Wick kind of rivalry. Some people mention they wouldn't play for a certain team because where they were from. What were those games like to play in?
Yeah, it's kind of it's changed over the years because when I first started, Wick were kind of bottom half, bottom five kind of team, and Brora were maybe top half. They were, they had some good players when I first started. Billy Ferris was still playing in that team. Richie Hart was in that team. Graham Monroe, good players for Brora were in that team when I first started. So they were a bit ahead of us. So I didn't feel too much rivalry then, but then we jumped ahead of them by quite a considerable distance. They were probably bottom 3, bottom 4 team at that time, and then obviously the money got pumped into them. So then they shot up the league, and when we were making all those finals, that's when they started getting all the players that came to them, like the Ross Tokley's, Grant Monroe's, Stephen Mackay's, Craig Campbell's, Anders Sutherland. They were getting all those kind of players. So that was the period where you really felt the rivalry, because we were both up challenging for cup finals, both up in the top 4, top 5 of the league, and they were just getting stronger and stronger every kind of season. So we were having to work really hard to stay with them, really. And yeah, some of the games in those days were brilliant. They would take a crowd up to Wick. We'd take a big crowd down to Brora, and yeah, that kind of time were the real rivalry games. Unfortunately, now we've not beaten Brora for a good number of years. It's something that we try and put right every season, but they've just got they've got the one up on us at the moment, and I don't know, is it now a psychological thing in the players or what, but for some reason, we just can't get the better of them. Last year, I think we were 2-1 up in Brora with about 10 seconds to play, and they scored with the last kick of the ball, and it's just, when that happens, you just think, Christ, are we ever going to beat them again? But it will happen, there's no two ways about it. It will happen. We're getting closer to it. I think we've had a couple of draws in the last couple of seasons with them now, so it's it's always good. You always want a local rival, and well, they're not right on our doorstep. They're our closest Highland League team, so it's always going to have a bit of added spice. And but yeah, like I said, during sort of 2011 to about 2016, those games were really good. You looked forward to them, and this season they've gone back to the sort of festive derbies, which is good. We've got them in Wick on the 27th of December, and then the away ties, I think, on the 3rd of January. So it's good they've gone back to that. That was always something you looked forward to as well. You would always get a big crowd in Wick especially, and yeah, hopefully it'll be that again this year on the 27th.
Yeah. So in terms of overall kind of the appearances and kind of goals that you've scored in terms of your playing career, obviously we've spoken about the North of Scotland when the really good team you were in that came in 3rd. Is there any kind of other standout moments, maybe Scottish Cup games you're involved in, or?
I think the Scottish Cup game that stands out above them all. I mean, I've played in lots of Scottish Cup games now, and home ties, away ties, and whatever else. But the one that really stands out above them all is the Brechin game. I think it was 2011. I think maybe slightly, maybe 2010. We got to the 3rd round for the first time ever. Brechin were, well, the equivalent of League One now, and like up at the top end of it. Good squad, good team. So we were up against it. No one expected us to do anything. And in the game, we were 4-2 up with not long to play, 10-15 minutes to play. So quite rightly, the fans were all in jubilant mood, thinking we were getting through to the 4th round, taking a big scalp in Brechin. And yeah, they got back to 4-4 with 2 minutes to go or something like that, which was, we're really proud that we took such a good team all the way to a draw, but tinged with a lot of disappointment and regret that we never got over the line when we should have. We should have just seen that game out at 4-2 with 10 minutes to go or whatever it was. And we ended up, there was replays back then, so went down the next Saturday, stayed over in a hotel in Aberdeen. Woke up on the Saturday morning to get told the game was off, so we just had to jump in the bus at like 10 in the morning or something and traipse back up the road, and then ended up having to go down there on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, whatever it was, which, far from ideal. But again, went down and gave a good account of ourselves and ended up getting beat 4-2. But I would say of all the Scottish Cup ties that I've been involved in, that home game was one that kind of stands out because the way the game went, a 4-4 game always sticks in the memory. A big crowd that day, just with the sort of tinge of regret and disappointment that we never actually got to the fourth round, which would have been a good old achievement.
Yeah, so now obviously you're the Wick Academy manager and you've got a home tie versus Falkirk to look forward to, and a potential maybe cup upset on the cards.
Yeah, well, it's quite similar to that Brechin game I've just been discussing. It's a home tie in the third round, chance to, make history and get to the fourth round for the first time ever against a League One team that are going really well. So, we'll obviously go in as huge underdogs, and quite rightly so. They're a full-time professional outfit that have got players in on loan from Rangers. They've got, seasoned professionals that were at Cali not long ago. And, you look at their squad and you think, well, we've got no chance. But, it's a Scottish Cup tie. It's in late November. I wouldn't imagine the weather will be great. I wouldn't imagine our pitch will be great. And they play on an all-weather AstroTurf pitch in their home games. So you just hope that everything goes our way. The weather's not very good. The pitch isn't very good. Our players all play to their maximum and their players don't. And if that all happens, then you never know. But we're under no illusion. We're huge underdogs, but that's something hopefully we'll thrive on. No one will give us a prayer, but the boys in our changing room and the management staff, we certainly will. So we'll be going in fully aware of the task at hand and the challenge that's in front of us. But we're going in with nothing to lose, so we'll go in and give it our best shot, see what happens, and then just take it from there.
It'll be your kind of biggest game as a manager. How are you feeling on kind of a personal level?
Really looking forward to it. I mean, that's what I said to the boys. This is the sort of game you're in football to play in. Yes, the league's your bread and butter, and you want to do as well as you can, and you want to try and win cups and what have you. But you want your big day out as well. You want to take on the best team that you possibly can. You want to test yourself against a full-time professional team in a competitive game. So it's something I'm thoroughly looking forward to. It's something that I'm sure I'll enjoy. Enjoy the occasion. Possibly not the 90 minutes, but we'll see how that goes. And then, it's just like I say, it's one of these games on occasions that you want to be involved in. That's why you train twice a week in all weathers. That's why you traipse up and down the length of the country, so you can get occasions and days out like this. But same for the fans as well. I'm pleased for the fans that they've got a day to look forward to like this as well. They turn up in their numbers week in, week out, even when things aren't going great or the weather's not great. They still give a good backing in Wick. It's one thing that's never sort of diminished that much. To give them a big day out, something to look forward to, it's always pleasing as well.
Yeah. So going back to kind of what was kind of the moment that got you interested in terms of coaching and management, would you say?
It's something I've always been interested in, and I got involved. Well, after school, I went down to Elgin College and did an HND in sports coaching with development. So, it's obviously something that I've always been involved in, interested in from school. And then after that as well. So that when I was at Elgin, that's when I first started my coaching badges. So I was only 18 at the time, 19. So I managed to get a reasonable amount of coaching badges under my belt in those couple of years. So that's where the first sort of coaching experience came in. And then when I came back up the road, Graham Sutherland, who's now, I don't know what his title is actually, but he's with the SFA and does all sorts of work in the North region, the Aberdeenshire region, Murray and what have you as well. So he was at Ross County at the time, and he got in touch with me and asked if I would lead a regional squad for Ross County up in Caithness. So I was only 20, 21 at the time, and that gave me, I did more coaching badges at that time. I went out and scouted the local players and then coached them on a weekly basis, and then took them down to Ross County in the holidays and stuff. So yeah, to answer your question, it's something that I've always been interested in from an early age, from late teens into my early 20s. I've been keeping an eye on I don't know if most people just watch games of football and on the telly and what have you, and just watch the game. I'm constantly looking at different shapes and different things that are happening within the game itself, not just the goals and what have you. So it's just something that's been in me for a long time, I think. And the longer you go in your career, the more your mind kind of switches towards coaching, towards management. And then when David Kirkwood came in, I'm not sure what year he came in. I think it was 2011 he came in. He asked me to be a player coach, and I think I was 28 or something at the time. It was something that I had to think about. It wasn't just a straight yes. It was something I always thought that you see player managers and player coaches. It's something that I think you need to be one or the other. I'm finding that just now, and I'm still playing the odd game when required, and you can't give either your all, if you know what I mean. When you're on the pitch, you're constantly sort of looking at other people. Are they doing their jobs? Or when you should be just concentrating on your own job. So you're not giving your all as a player or a manager. You're kind of half-arsed attempt at both of them. So it's it's something that I wouldn't recommend, to be honest. But yeah, going forward, it's something that I'm probably just going to concentrate on the management now.
Yeah. So in terms of the managers you've played under, what have you kind of learnt from them?
Yeah, you take bits from all of them, really, good and bad bits. Like I say, the later you sort of go in your career, you start taking note of training sessions. You start taking note of bits and pieces on match days that you might end up taking into what you do if you go into management. And it's something that I did. When, like I say, when David Kirkwood came in, I was probably 27, 28. And when he did ask me to be player coach, I didn't have much experience of coaching like an adult team, so it's I was constantly watching him, see what he did, see how he conducted himself. And David was a good coach. He always had something different up his sleeve. His sessions were all football based, like even pre-season. There wasn't so much just all out running. It was all with a ball with David Kirkwood. And then when Barry came in, he was kind of a mixture. His pre-seasons were quite tough. A lot of like sprinting rather than like long distance runs. I remember one session we must have done about 2,500 metre sprints. It was incredible. That was on a Thursday night, and we went over to Orkney then for pre-season friendly on a Saturday. Half the boys couldn't even get on the ferry because they couldn't move. Their hamstrings were gone, their quads were gone. all these 100-meter sprints we were doing on a Thursday night. But so yeah, those two were quite different. Like Barry was, like I said earlier, it was just all out attack with his team. That was Barry was in charge of the season. We finished third and scored over 100 goals. So it was all out attack. He never concentrated much at all on the defensive aspect of the game, because I think he knew, like, you know, we would outscore most teams, so why not play to your strengths rather than trying the opposite. And so yeah, you take bits from Barry, and then Goggs came in, and we obviously won the cup under Goggs and did well. He just carried on where Barry left off, but Goggs tried to be a bit more pragmatic and you know, not as gung ho, I wouldn't say, as Barry. So he tried to get that kind of middle ground, and you know, it did well under Goggs, won a cup, and yeah, enjoyed it. And then Tom came in, then Tom Kennan. You know, I felt a bit sorry for Tom, because it was the start of the kind of changing of the guard, really. You know, the squad started dropping off. Members of the cup winning squad and the good squad that we had started dropping away. So yeah, like I say, you take bits from all managers that I played under, and not just the good bits, the bad bits as well that you weren't so keen on. So you try and ensure that you don't do that. And yeah, I like to think I've kind of taken bits from everyone and put my own stamp on it as well. You know, you don't want to copy anyone. You know, you'll just get found out like that. So you have to be kind of authentic as well, and put your own stamp on training sessions, on match days and what have you. So that's something I've tried to do as well.
Yeah. So what kind of manager would you kind of say you are?
Well, I would probably say not a very good one if you look at our league position, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to pigeonhole yourself. I wouldn't say I'm a defensive manager, and I wouldn't say I'm an attacking manager. I'm trying to find that middle ground that I was speaking about, that Goggs tried to find as well.
Yeah,
it's, you know, I'm not one of those guys that just say, right, all out attack and don't worry about the defence. And I'm on the flip side, I'm not one of those guys that, you know, tries to park the bus or whatever. So it's about finding that middle ground, and I'm sure most managers are the same. And you know, if anyone had a ready-made formula, then they wouldn't be in the Highland League, would they? So I'm still learning. You know, it's something I'm still developing, if you like. You know, I wouldn't say I've got a style. I keep reading, like, certainly I'm a Rangers fan, and you know, you read Rangers fans, and certainly just now been struggling a little bit, and like, what's Gio's style? We're not playing with a defined playing style. Like, well, what does that actually mean? Is this? I think where they must all play like Football Manager on their computer, and they see like playing style come up, and they've got a drop down menu of what playing style they want to play. I mean, it's guys that have probably never coached a team in their life that are coming out with, oh, well, what's our playing style? I'm like, well, nobody really has a playing style. You know, you want to win first and foremost. You know, how that comes about is more often than not up to the players. You know, as a manager, as a coach, you give them ideas, you give them, you know, ideas of where to be on the pitch and how to get to certain areas on the pitch. But then once they're on the pitch on match days, it's completely up to the players. You know, that a manager and a coach is only as good as the players on the pitch. So yeah, it kind of amuses me when people ask, what's your playing style? What style are we playing, and all that sort of thing. Because it's, yeah, for me, you set up a team to play against the team that you're up against that particular game. So your playing style might change from week to week to week to week. So, yeah, to answer your question, which is a long-winded way of answering it, I don't really have an answer for what kind of manager I am. I think I'm like away from tactical side and all that sort of thing, I like to make myself very approachable for the guys, and I've played with most of them. I'm still playing with most of them, so they all know me. They all know me really well. They know that I'm there to speak to if they want to come and speak to me and what have you. So yeah, I'm still developing, but I like to take a little bit of all from my previous managers, and I like to think that I'm not either like a defensive or attacking. I'm just kind of straight down the middle and try to win football games.
Yeah, so what do you think's been the kind of the biggest thing you've learnt from being a manager now?
I would say the biggest thing I've learned so far is to go in with a bigger squad than you think you need at the start of the season. You might think that, right, I've got a squad of 21. That, if all going well, that means 3 sitting in the stand on a Saturday. But one thing I have learned is it never, ever goes according to plan. You'll always have an injury. You'll always have players, as I touched on earlier, going on holiday, missing games for this, that and the other. So yeah, that's the biggest thing I've learned, is to go in. So like next season, for example, I'll be going in with a much bigger squad than I think I actually need, in terms of numbers. So, there's too often these last couple of seasons that we've either had to rely on pinching players from the under-18s or, asking boys to come and do us a favour as a trialist. And yeah, it's not something that I want to do going forward. Not the under-18 part. I'm a big advocate in getting the boys in early if they're good enough, if they're showing up well enough for the under-18s and training well with us, because that's something we do. We take under-18s to train with us the whole time, just to get them into a first team environment early, so when the time does come that they're ready to go. But yeah, getting guys in as trialists, it's something that really bugs me. I really don't like doing it, but at times in the last couple of seasons it's been a necessity, which that's one thing I've learned, that I'm definitely going to go in with a bigger squad than I actually think I need next season.
Yeah, so in terms of yourself as kind of a manager and kind of coaching, is there any kind of certain ambitions you have?
Well, certainly short term is, medium to short term is just to try and get to cup finals and win trophies. It's been too long since we've been to a cup final. It's been too long since we've won something. So that's the aim of every manager, really, isn't it? So to get to cup finals, have days out at cup finals to try and win medals and just push on up the league. I mean, I've come in at a time where, as I said earlier about Tom coming in, that it was the start of it. I've kind of overseen most of it now, is the changing of the guard, losing players like Craig Gunn, Sam Mackay, Danny Mackay, Stephen Anderson, Sean McCarthy, Grant Stephen, Joe Stephen. I've probably just named 8 or 9 players that would, all still about the 30 mark, 31, 32 mark, that would still do a job in the Highland League, but they've just, they felt that their time in the league's up and they're moving on. So it's, unfortunately, I've come in at a time where the squads have had a massive overhaul. So yeah, it's something that we've had to manage, and it will be something we have to manage going forward. But it's on the flip side, it's exciting because new players are coming in the whole time, and it's their chance to shine and their chance to show they're good enough to be in the Highland League.
Yeah, so is there any kind of players maybe coming through the ranks or coming into the first team that you think Highland League fans should kind of look out for at Wick, would you say?
Yeah, there's a few. Like I said earlier, Wick always seems to have one of the best under-18 teams, in their division. More often than not, they win the under-18 league. So we've got loads of good players coming through, but like I touched on earlier, our geography is it doesn't lend itself to keeping some of these players. They'll head off to Glasgow to go to uni. They'll go to Edinburgh to go to uni or whatever, or go off to get jobs in other places. So, but yeah, we've got loads of good players coming through. One that's kind of standing out at the moment is Joe Anderson. He came into the squad as a 16-year-old. He's 18 now. I think his birthday's in December. I think he's 18. But yeah, he's going to be top Highland League player. I mean, I'm obviously seeing most teams at close quarters, and I'm yet to see an 18-year-old centre half come up against me that's as good as young Joe is. So he's only going to go from strength to strength. I mean, he's about 6'3". Really, really comfortable in the ball. He's a left-footed player. He can read the game well. And, once he bulks up, because he's still very slight, but once he bulks up, he's going to be, very, very difficult to contend with as a striker. So, he's obviously one that sticks out just now because he's a first-team regular at 18. But yeah, beyond that, we gave young Matthew Aikenhead his debut. He's only 16. We gave him his debut on Saturday there. He's been training well with us for the last 4 or 5 weeks, playing well with the under-18s. So we just felt the time was right for him to come on as a substitute on Saturday, make his debut. So he won't be the last either. There'll be more making their debuts this season from the under-18 squad. So there's loads coming through, loads to be positive about in the under-18s and youth.
Yeah, so in terms of being a Highland League manager, can you maybe kind of give a bit of insight in what your kind of normal week is like in terms of balancing your job and, managing a team? Yeah,
it's very much a second job, like a second full-time job, I should say. It's non-stop. It's sometimes chaotic, it's sometimes frustrating, but on the whole it's quite rewarding as well. So yeah, a typical week I would suggest would be like on a Monday I'll be planning my session for the Tuesday night. So you'll be looking at who's all available for training, what happened the previous week, who you're playing up against this coming Saturday, what their strengths are, their weaknesses, how you want to go about the game, and then planning your session accordingly off the back of that. Then more often than not on the Tuesday, I'll get a couple of call-offs for training. That always happens. No matter what you say, what you do, always get call-offs on the day of the training. So you'll have to go back to your session plan, tweak it slightly, tweak whatever you were planning on doing, which is a coach's nightmare. It's very frustrating, but it's part and parcel of part-time football, I'm afraid. So then Tuesday night, you've got the training session. Hopefully everything goes well. You get no injuries and what have you, and everything goes according to plan. Wednesday, you're kind of evaluating what happened on the Tuesday and then plan your session for the Thursday. Again, with Saturday in mind, who you're coming up against. If you're going to work on set plays, you do it on a Thursday night. If you're, Thursday's more about the match on the Saturday. Then Thursday comes, again, more often than not, you'll have call-offs and you'll have to tweak your plan again, but you just get on with it. And that's Thursday night is the training session. Then Friday, again, you're kind of evaluating the Thursday night session. I've already kind of got my team in my head before the Thursday night session. That's, like I say, that's when you sort of do any patterns of play that you want to work on, any defensive setup that you want to go through, any set pieces. So I've kind of got my team in my head before the Thursday night session. But if someone might have an absolute blinder on a Thursday night and then you start thinking, all right, well, maybe tweak my team on the Saturday. So that's Friday. You're just kind of finalising your plans for the Saturday. Get everything organised that you need for the Saturday, and then obviously Saturday takes care of itself. It's match day. And then the Sunday, we record every game. So the Sunday I normally sit and watch the game from the Saturday. So every single day is taken up with something to do with football. So yeah, like I said, it's another full-time job. So at times it is a challenge to fit everything in, because it's not just football, it's not just my work. You've got other things going on in your outside life as well. So it's sometimes a challenge to fit everything in. But like I said earlier, it's more often than not it's rewarding. It's something that I enjoy doing. So it doesn't feel like a work, like another full-time job. So it's full on, it is enjoyable.
Yeah. How, in terms of like balance, do you get much time to kind of switch off? Is there kind of certain time in the season that you can kind of calm down in terms of, or is it kind of full steam ahead the whole until the end, and then pre-season, and then
yeah, exactly. It's that week that I just described. That's during the season, and then your off season. Like we've got in Caithness, there's quite a good, vibrant summer football amateur scene up here. So that's where we get most of our players from. So while I know most of the players up here already, you still have to go and see games. Who's playing well? Who's looking like they might be able to make the step up if they want to, because that's half the challenge as well up here. Players that actually want to come and commit to Highland League football, because it is a commitment for Wick players. So yeah, it's more or less all year round. It's not just that week that I've just described. It's even in the close season. You're going and watching matches. You're evaluating players that are playing the amateur scene and seeing who can maybe make the step up. Well, it is slightly less intense, but your mind's still always thinking football, no matter what you're doing or where you are, I'm afraid.
One final question, looking back in terms of your playing, who do you think was the best player you played with and played against, would you say?
Yeah, extremely tough question. People ask me this from time to time, and the answer probably changes every time someone asks me. But in terms of played with, I've reeled off quite a few already in this that I could probably name. But I think if I was to nail one down, I would probably go David Allen. For a number of reasons, but longevity would be one. He's got a little bit of everything that you want in a footballer. He's got the aggression, he's got the good touch, he's got the pace, he's got the enthusiasm, the work rate, strength, the physicality. And he can finish. I think he scored, I don't know exactly how many goals, but he's maybe got near 200 goals for Wick in his career. So he's just got everything that you would want. And during that period that I've touched on various times, and during this, he was our standout. I think out of all those good players that I named earlier, I think he was probably the standout that if he wasn't playing, you would notice it. We would miss him if he was absent for whatever reason. Then we would miss any other players during that period. I think he was just one of them as well. If you were under the cosh at all, you could just give the ball to Dave. He would go a run. He would go a mazy 60-yard run and take you up the pitch and just relieve that pressure from the back four. And so he's one. But like I say, I could change that answer, 6, 7, 8 times and make a very good argument for lots of other players. So I'm hopefully not doing the other players a disservice, because like I say, I could name numerous players that I played with. But then in terms of played against, again, I could name different players from different eras. When I first started, that Cove team that we beat, that was my first glimpse of Highland League football, and there was a striker playing for Cove that day, Mike Beattie his name was, and yeah, I'd never seen anything like it in my life. He was probably 6'1", but lean and strong, quick, good in the air, good with both feet. He was good at holding the ball up, but bringing others into play. And that was my first glimpse at like a proper player. I think, a proper adult player.
Yeah.
So he's always stuck in my mind. I mean, I don't know how many seasons he was in the league. I was maybe 2-3 seasons at most, because he was probably come to the end of his career and I was just starting. But he always stuck in my mind from that first game that I played in. And then others from that era, like Martin Stewart at Huntly. Tremendous goal scorer, tremendous at holding the ball in as well and bringing others into play. And then, moving slightly forward, Darren Still, like Keith, he sticks in my mind. That, had quite a few battles with him over the years. And then you've got guys like Ian Murray at Vale and Bucky. He was untouchable for a couple of years. Had a tremendous partnership with Mike McKenzie when he was at Vale. That's when, Vale were probably up there with one of the better teams that I've ever played against in the Highland League. They had a who's who of Highland League in their squad at that time. Going forward, there's loads of other good players that have come to the fore. I mean, Paul Coots played for Cove before he moved down to, Sheffield United, and Peter Brand, who else he played for down south. So he was a top player that played. And so, yeah, loads and loads of players. But I would say the first one that ever stuck in my mind was Mike Beattie. That might be before a lot of people's time and that might be listening to this, but a top player when he played against us for Cove.
So tell us a couple of funny stories about Gary Weir that you had.
Yeah, Gary, or Chucky as he's more commonly known, he's one of those guys that there's never a quiet moment with Chucky. Whether he's on the bus or in the changing room or just wherever he is, there's always mischief and always, something going on. He attracts, I don't know, not controversy, but he's a character to say the least. He's one of those guys that, now going into management, he's one of those guys that you want in your dressing room. Every team, every changing room needs a Chucky in their dressing room because there's never a quiet moment. He's always up to something. He's always doing bits and pieces. And more often than not on the away trips with Wick, there's quite a lot of refreshments taken on the way home. So, and like Chucky was always very much partaking in these refreshments. So more often than not on the away trips, Chucky would end up naked at some point. I mean, it might sound stupid to everyone listening, but if you knew Chucky, then it's very much the norm. Like end of every season, we go on an away trip somewhere. We've got like a fine box, and we all chuck money in it and what have you. So, the end of every season, we go to like a Newcastle or Liverpool or Manchester or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Chucky's always the life and soul of the trip. And just remember one time we were sitting in Newcastle, just in like a kind of rooftop bar. It was during the day, like broad daylight. We're all sitting there. It was quite early actually. We were just sitting, having a quiet, leisurely beer, enjoying the sun, and then kind of look around and it'd gone a wee bit quiet. And when it'd gone quiet, you always think, right, where's Chucky? Because it's never quiet when Chucky's there. So we're looking around and nowhere to be seen. Next thing, like I said, it was a rooftop bar. Look down because we were like two or three stories high. Right below us was a car park. Looked down to the car park and there was Chucky running about in between the cars, bollock naked. Just not a stitch on him. And he must have went to the toilets or something. Got naked. Thought, right, what will I do? I don't know, run about the car park. And they run about doing like this penguin dance that he used to do, and it was just ridiculous. But that just sums up Chucky. That's a typical Chucky story. There's probably quite a few other ones that I could have told that ended up with Chucky being naked and doing a penguin dance, but that's one that sticks in my mind. Just luckily he's calmed down now. He's a dad with 2 kids now, so he's calmed down.
Listening to the Highland League podcast. Hope you can join me next time for another interesting interview. Listening to the Highland League podcast. Hope you can join me next time for another interesting interview.